wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in our newsrooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. Zesco, powering the nation.
Apple Max. Take it to the max.
Introducing the Smart Kicker from iConnect, the most affordable smartphone on the market. With a follow focus capable 2-megapixel camera, you can't miss out on any of the action. Over 400 hours of standby battery time and 32 gig external memory. That's more than enough space for all your series, music, pics, apps and games. Get yours today from iConnect for a limited offer of only 499 kwacha, including 300 MB iSpot internet from iConnect. The Smart Kicker, available at iConnect. iConnect, make it happen.
Want to just get out of town with your friends and family? Are you having a corporate getaway and have no adequate transport? Then this here is what you need to listen to. A brand new 35-seater Yutong luxury bus is now up for hire at an affordable and negotiable rate. It comes fully equipped with aircon, TV for your relaxation, music soothing your trip, and DVD players to give you variety. Book now by calling 0955-0966 or 977-844-141.
What makes the new Yo-Yo Chipsy so unique? 100% natural ingredients. Nothing artificial. Just a pure experience of freshness. Chipsy potato chips. We know you'll love them.
Hey girl, what's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real cause you look so free. So let's chill, have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Your jungle.
Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Prime Television's main news bulletin. First, we take a look at the stories making headlines. Bishop Mambo urges police not to use the Public Order Act to oppress citizens. Jawaz maintains the wage freeze has not been lifted. SATA can die a second death on finding out of what has become of PF charges Goodson Banda. In international news, Egypt sentences Mohamed Morsi to death. Well, my name is Abigail Mtale. Do join me shortly for the details. And now the news in detail. The Anti-Voter Apathy Project, AVAP, has appealed to the Ministry of Home Affairs to publish a comprehensive national implementation plan for the mobile issuance of national registration cards, NRCs. The organization states that this will help to prepare people ahead of the voter registration to commence in August 2015. AVAP Executive Director Richwa Mulwani has further urged Zambians to take the registration of NRCs serious, as this is the beginning of the electoral process. Mr. Mulwani says youths who have attained the legal age of obtaining NRCs should be in the forefront to ensure that they obtain NRCs so that they can participate in the country's democratic process. And Mr. Mulwani has urged government agencies not to allow foreigners. Mr. Mulwani said this in an interview with Prime TV News in Lusaka. Former Zambia Congress of Trade Unions ZCTU President Leonard Hikaumba wonders what is delaying the enactment of a new constitution. Mr. Hikaumba says the country was supposed to have a new constitution by now. Mr. Hikaumba has urged all political parties and concerned stakeholders in demanding for the release of the constitution. He has charged that the process should not fail this time around, as the country has already spent huge sums of money on it. Mr. Hikaumba says politicians, especially those in government, should not personalize the process, as this is a national matter.
We are always insisting that participation by all stakeholders is very important, because if there is no stakeholder participation to the fullest, we shall always be drawing ourselves backward. Just like if we had a new constitution by now, if all the people, and especially if all the major political parties had agreed to participate at that time. So we find ourselves doing the very things that were being opposed, and these are the same things that are being suggested now. So you can see the amount of time that we've wasted, the amount of money that was wasted to do the very thing that was being rejected. When money is spent in such a way, make a passionate appeal that this time around the constitution should not fail.
And National Party President Richard Kambolo says all meaningful members of Parliament must reject and not assent to piecemeal amendments to the Constitution. Mr. Kambolo says the voices of most Zambians are clear, stating that what they want is a referendum and not piecemeal amendments, as being suggested by government. He says few individuals in the name of a political party without national consensus should not be allowed to prevail over the destiny of the entire nation as regards the Constitution. The PF government has announced that it will in the next sitting table non-contentious articles to Parliament and reserve contentious ones to be subjected to a national referendum. Judicial and Allied Workers Union of Zambia, JAWAZ, Secretary General Vincent Makondo, says that they are not for the view that government lifted wage freeze. Mr. Makondo says they have not heard anything from government as regards the lifting of the wage freeze with immediate effect. He says President Lungu's timeline has a lot of questions because the two parties did not agree that there must be a wage freeze. Mr. Makondo says the wage freeze was intended to be in force for 2 solid years and only 3 months is remaining for the freeze to expire. He says political gimmicks must not be encouraged because Zambians are aware that by September, according to PF government, the wage freeze must be lifted. Mr. Makondo was speaking to Prime TV's news in an interview in Lusaka.
We don't hold the view that there's a lifting of a wage freeze. The reason is simple. The reason being that this wage freeze was intended to be in force for 2 solid years. And now we are remaining with 3 months, if not 4 months, before the expiry of the 24 months. Yes. So when someone comes and says, I have lifted the wage freeze, we have not heard from the authorities that have lifted this wage freeze whether they have compensated the suffering that the workers have endured during the wage freeze. Because without providing a remedy to the suffering that we have endured as a result of the wage freeze, then the wage freeze is not lifted.
You are watching the live broadcast of Prime Television's main news bulletin. Just now we take a commercial break, but stay tuned for more interesting stories after the break.
Would you wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in unused rooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. Zesco, powering the nation.
What's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real cause you look so free. So let's chill, have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. We continue with the news. Chikondi Foundation President Bishop John Mambo is saddened with the selective manner with regard to the enforcement of the Public Order Act. Bishop Mambo, in an interview with Prime TV News, says it is sad that the Public Order Act is now being used to oppress citizens as opposed to protecting them. He says Zambians should be allowed to enjoy their full rights as opposed to what is currently obtaining in the country, while citizens are no longer allowed to enjoy their full rights. Bishop Mambo was reacting to the police's decision to summon UPND President Hakainde Hichilema to appear before them for visiting markets and public places.
Freedom of movement and freedom of gathering together, it's something that is it's a birthright for everybody. If Zambia we are going to sank so low to a level whereby someone that is going simply door to door, not wanting to alarm so that cars don't crash and all that, and the next thing you call him to police. I think this is why we are saying the Public Order Act is something that was colonial, it is colonial, and it must be done out with. Because you'll be arresting all the evangelists in this country. You'll be arresting all the Jehovah's Witnesses who goes around with their write-ups and distribute to people and all that. You'll be rounding up or summoning up to the police, all of us, because on daily basis, how many people do I meet? Go to and all that, go to UTH, go to prison, and go to a number of places. I don't think that is right. It is a bad politics, and in a country where you're saying it's a Christian nation, if he goes around insulting or holding rallies that needs, authority, it's a different story.
And now, Rainbow Party spokesperson Goodson Banda says late President Michael Sata could die a second death if he woke up from his grave to find out what has become of his party. Appearing on a live Prime TV program dubbed The Oxygen of Democracy on Monday this week, Mr. Banda says the PF has been hijacked by rejected leaders such as those from the MMD. Mr. Banda expressed shock that the PF could embrace leaders who insulted and ridiculed them day and night for the sake of votes. He urged the PF to show some sense of political morality than taking the route they are taking of working with rejected leaders. Mr. Banda said most of the founding PF members are leaving the party due to the intolerance in the party.
Why you have seen PF and MMD coming together today? Even you and me, if Michael Sata was there, that alliance would have not been there. Because the people of Zambia defeated the MMD on the point that they were corrupt. There were so many things which were being accused the MMD. And they did very badly. And that made them to become unpopular. MMD was removed from power on the point that they were mismanaging the resources of this country. And most of them, they were actually taken to court. Even on the point of the seats they own, most of their seats were taken to court and nullified on the point that there was corruption, there were fraud and so on. The Supreme Court nullifying. But you have seen what is going on today because Mike was not there. And when the cat is away, the mouse will play.
Okay. Whether the party will field in any candidates in the forthcoming parliamentary by-elections, Mr. Banda says the party will not participate in any of them. He explains that the party is only focused on the 2016 general elections and nothing else. Mr. Banda, however, announced that given any circumstance that the presidential by-election presents itself, Zambians can be shocked with the votes his party can draw. He said the numbers on the party's database are impressive to warrant them victory in any election.
You see, I'll tell you one thing. Politics has gone scientific. And how you gauge is very much simple. You have to know whether you have got structures or not. And in our case, we have structures at that level I was telling you, at the ward level. This, it is giving us that positive indication that we are actually recruiting more members. Because we have a way how we need to capture certain number for us. And that is what we are looking at. And if we are capturing certain numbers at certain period, and we go and converge, have a meeting and review, and we find that we are meeting certain benchmarks, then we know for sure that we are getting there.
If I may ask,
participating in a by-election cannot be a true indicator.
Forum for Democracy and Development President Edith Nawakwi has said that Zambia would be a different place in terms of development had late President Levi Mwanawasa completed his second term. Speaking when she addressed headmen and women at Senior Chief Mukuni Ng'ombe's palace in Kapirimposhi on Thursday, Ms. Nawakwi said Zambia would have developed had God granted late President Mwanawasa just a few more years to complete his second term. Ms. Nawakwi says the FDD proposes a different way of governing the country, which will empower districts with their own budgets, hence empower district officials to make decisions on what to prioritize. The opposition leader also called on the traditional leaders to encourage their subjects to get national registration cards and ensure that they register as voters in the forthcoming mobile voter registration process. Speaking earlier, Senior Chief Mukuni Ng'ombe of the Lenje people of Chipepo in Central Province has expressed concern at what he terms the over-commercialization of politics in the country. His Royal Highness Mukuni Ngombe observed that the country has remained stagnant in terms of development because politicians are not serving the interests of the people anymore, as politicians are spending so much money buying votes. Moving on, the National Restoration Party NAREP has suspended 2 of its members for selling information to other parties. NAREP National Information and Publicity Secretary Brian Mpundu say they have relieved the duties of the district chairperson, Pastor Mutolilo, and another official who is a secretary, only identified as a Mr. Kambalala. Mr. Mpundu says the decision has been arrived at after they learned that the 2 were indisciplined and selling information of the party to other political parties. He says the 2 must exculpate themselves to the National Executive Committee within 2 weeks. Mr. Mpundu says the party is on principle grounds working hard for 2016 general elections, not entertaining dirty politics in the party. He was speaking to Prime TV News in an interview in Lusaka.
Yeah, as a National Restoration Party, we have relieved of the duties of the district chairperson, Pastor Mutolilo, and the provincial secretary, Mr. Karambalala. We are going further, suspending them. We have asked them to actually exculpate themselves before the disciplinary committee of National Restoration Party. We have made this decision because of the gross indiscipline which they have conducted themselves some time back. And as a National Restoration Party, we are the party with the values, we have principles, and people who are not being loyal to the party, not following the values of the party, we are not hesitating this time around. We are suspending, and as we go for the 2016 general elections, we want to make sure that we remove all the cobwebs within our party so that the party can move forward.
You are still watching the live presentation of Prime Television's main news with me, Abigail Mtali. We take another break, but stay tuned for the international stories right after the break.
What makes the new Yo-Yo Chipsy so unique? 100% natural ingredients. Nothing artificial. Just a pure experience of freshness. Potato chips. We know you'll love them.
Mom, can I help you to cook?
No. Remember what I always tell you? Wash your hands.
Okay. Dad, this is a germ-free zone. Go wash your hands.
Good personal hygiene is important at all times. That's why medical experts recommend Romeo Plus medicated soap. It eradicates over 97% of harmful germs. Healthy families use Romeo Plus medicated soap. Romeo Plus medicated soap. Love, care, protect.
Welcome back, and now in foreign news. An Egypt court has sentenced former President Mohamed Morsi to death for a mass prison break in 2011. The court ruled on Saturday that the sentencing of Morsi and 105 others will be referred to the Grand Mufti, the highest religious authority in Egypt, for confirmation. Many of those sentenced were tried in absentia, including Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, an influential Islamic scholar based in Qatar. The court will pronounce its final decision on June 2. Morsi, who was overthrown by the army in 2013 amid mass protests against his government, was spared the death sentence in the first of 2 trials that concluded on Thursday, in which the court advised death sentences for 16 defendants on espionage charges. And finally, police stormed a hospital in Burundi's capital, shot and killed patients as they searched for men injured in clashes that erupted when a senior army officer announced an attempted takeover of the government, a doctor said. Dr. Anthony, a surgeon at the Bimerek hospital in Bujumbura, said Friday's attack also left some patients injured. The attack happened on the same day President Pierre Nkurunziza, who was in neighboring Tanzania when the attempted coup was announced, returned home. We received 3 patients and they were here in the emergency room. After that moment, we see a group of policemen arrive here and they began to shoot everywhere, said Anthony, who uses only one name. Burundi has been reeling from violence which began on April 26 after the ruling party made Nkurunziza its presidential candidate. At least 15 people have been killed in the unrest. Well, for these and other international news, we monitored Al Jazeera.
And Egypt's former president Mohamed Morsi has been sentenced to death. A Cairo court convicted him of spying for foreign groups and for a mass prison breakout in 2011. The death sentence still needs to be approved by the Grand Mufti, who will make a decision by early June. More than 20 other defendants were also sentenced to death. Iraq has sent extra soldiers to the city of Ramadi as they try to push out the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. ISIL fighters now control the government compound in the city, the capital of the country's largest province, Anbar. And if the city falls completely, it would give the group a stronghold just 100 kilometers from Baghdad. Deeper into Anbar province, and ISIL has carried out 3 suicide attacks in eastern Fallujah, targeting a joint army and Shia militia base. 25 people died when the group rigged the main gates of the place. 5-day humanitarian ceasefire in Yemen is in its 4th day, but fighting continues. It's due to end on Sunday. That's when the UN, Gulf envoys and Yemeni tribesmen will meet in Riyadh to resolve the crisis, but Houthi rebels will not be there. The United States has urged Thailand to shelter stateless Rohingya Muslims who have fled persecution in Myanmar. At least 6,000 of them are still in boats in waters around Indonesia, Thailand and Malaysia. The Burundian president says peace has returned to the country, but doctors have accused police of shooting injured soldiers that were being treated in a hospital.
As we end the news, we take a look at the top stories once again. Bishop Mambo urges police not to use the Public Order Act to oppress citizens. Jawaz maintains the wage freeze has not been lifted. SATA can die a second death on finding out of what has become of PF charges goods on Banda. And finally, Egypt sentences Mohamed Morsi to death. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. On behalf of the production team and the news crew, my name is Abigail Mtare. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.
You see, I have never fought with a lion. I have never hunted through the forest in pursuit of food. But I do have the fighting spirit. Because for decades, my people fought for freedom. And in 1964, we won. I love to do the Fwemba, the Kalela, the Kwasa Kwasa. I wear Chitenge. So does my girlfriend. I eat crisps, not crisps. I love Nsima, Kapenta, Chihuahua, Delele. I'm Josh, and I'm proud to be Zambian.
iConnect, celebrating 50 years of Zambia's independence. #OnlyFazed. iConnect, make it happen.
Hey girl, what's your name? Let me talk to you for just a minute. Where you live and what you like to do?
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
Okay, I'm just trying to get with someone real cause you look so free. So let's chill, have a drink with a guy like me.
Apple Max, baby. You need to give me Apple Max, baby.
A quality product from Californian Beverages.
Potato sticks, freaky fries. Get that awesome crunch.
Would you wear all your favorite hats at the same time? Well, we wouldn't either. That is why we suggest you use only what you need. Switch off all electrical appliances and lights in unused rooms. Remember, use only what you need and save power today. Switch and save. Zesco, powering the nation.